Black woman confronts white guy, leaves him something he'll never forget. Natasha Robinson was leaving school one evening, when she walked past a white guy minding his own business in the parking lot outside her college campus. When she saw what he was doing, she immediately inserted herself into the situation. Natasha, who was by herself as she was walking through the parking lot to her car, saw an older gentleman who was also alone. The unnamed man was in ragged clothes, rummaging through the dumpster in search of any shred of food he could find to carry him over to the next day. She approached him with an offer to buy him food, and he kindly took her up on the generous offer without hesitation. The Washington D.C. woman suggested Wendy's, then escorted him to the hamburger chain. He shyly offered to order something small off the dollar menu, as to not be an imposition, but she insisted he order a full meal instead. The homeless man was taken aback by this stranger, explaining that he hadn't eaten a thing since that morning and a big meal was appreciated beyond measure, according to a Facebook post Natasha made. When Wendy's workers handed him his food, his heart was full for what this woman had done for him, out of her own kindness. Beaming in God's favor that he was granted that night by this good Samaritan, he shouted, "Thank you, Lord, for sending someone." God had sent Natasha, who was a faithful follower of his, as is evident in giving all praise to him for giving her hands to help the needy and finances to facilitate it. As a Christian woman, the word tells me to love my neighbor, and in loving my neighbor that means being my brother's keeper and helping when he needs it, Natasha wrote in her Facebook post, which was accompanied by a picture of her new friend. "I saw a need, I met the need, and I pray that others will take time to pay it forward. I think if more people look at the big picture, step outside and see that there are so many people without and we that have more should be willing to help." Before the two parted ways, the homeless man had the sweetest request for the woman who just fed him. He asked if he could take a selfie with her on her phone, then gave an endearing reason as to why it was important to him. "The world needs to know what a blessing looks like," he said about snapping a picture and asking her to put it online for others to see. There was one last thing she did for him before saying goodbye. Natasha prayed with the man who was clearly in need, asking for God to protect him and be with him always. Then she gave him a much-needed hug that he probably hasn't received from anyone in far too long. The two parted ways, leaving him to never forget what someone did for him, while others would have looked the other direction.